Manfield on your left, Watanabe on your right. And we will be underway here in just a moment to watch these great players do battle at 6-0. They've been given the green light, and we are underway here with a Temple of Epiphany from Watanabe.
And we've seen sort of Jeskai tokens recede a little bit in, I would say, metagame representation over the last couple weeks and months. So I'm glad to see Yuuya, who's the architect of this strategy, still playing it. Because I think this deck's still incredible.
So you're a big fan of this deck.
Yes.
Temple Malady there for Seth. Watanabe going to sacrifice a Flooded Strand very quickly. You have to imagine he's going to be searching for a Plains. And it could be Raise the Alarm or Soulfire Grandmaster time. There is Soulfire Grandmaster. We'll pass the turn back Manfield's way. Manfield will play a Temple of Silence. A little scry action here. Oftentimes when playing Abzan, the first couple of lands will enter the battlefield tapped. Not much of a surprise, and now we go back Watanabe's way. Treasure Cruise the draw.
You wonder why aggressive decks have a place in Standard, in spite of how powerful the Abzan cards are. You're seeing it right now. On the play, going 2-drop, 3-drop against an opponent with just lands that come play tapped, no place to the board.
Goblin token incoming. It'll be an attack for 3. Watanabe will gain 2. And we're going to head Seth's way, and Seth is already under the gun. He just have an answer for things that are happening right now. But Yuuya is coming from 2 different angles. What Soulfire Grandmaster can do is much different than what Goblin Rabblemaster does.
Yeah. Well, for the time being, Seth can probably mostly ignore the Soulfire Grandmaster. The Rabblemaster is a huge priority to get off the table now.
Well, and the Tanky's going to go on turn number 3. This land for Seth had better not enter the battlefield tapped. It's going to be untapped. It's a forest. And it looks like he's passing the turn back, so we're going back to Watanabe. Yuuya will draw. Time to consult the grip. Whirling Outburst among the options there. Looks like he's going to go to the attack step. There's Bile Blight. So that'll take care of Rabblemaster. Jeskai Ascendancy in hand 2. Pretty good hand here for Yuuya.
Very powerful. And this might be one of those spots where we can get Ascendancy online a little bit ahead on the board. There is something nice about getting Whirling Outburst in play this turn because he can set up Stoke the Flames plus Soulfire Grandmaster with another mana. But I'm generally an advocate for get the Ascendancy into play when the coast is clear, because the game becomes so much easier from there.
This feels like the turn you can take off.
Yeah.
And he is bringing his options forward in his hand of Whirling Outburst and Jeskai Ascendancy. It's always fun is to watch him make his decisions. So much to learn.
Yeah, and there's also an argument for getting the Whirling Outburst into play this turn, as your opponents just cast 1 copy of Bile Blight, and the more that you have an advanced board, the more the Ascendancy will do. So I defer to the master.
There's Whirling Outburst. 3 more Goblin tokens. 6 points of power on the table.
I think that I err on the side of casting Ascendancy more than early on. That card is busted. Busted. Get that thing into play.
That's fairly good. That's for sure.
But he is really putting Seth to the test to have another copy of Bile Blight, and these Abzan mid-range decks typically only play so many in the main deck. 2, maybe 3 copies.
And taking a look at Seth's list, he's playing 3. Seth going to sacrifice Windswept Heath. Dig out of Plains here. I don't approve of that Plains. I don't know about you. He's got the beautiful forest and then a disgusting Plains. And I think he's going to search it down. I can approve of this. Get the good forest. Oh, no. It's back.
You can tell we're in Miami because everyone on the rail behind Seth is in shorts and flip-flops.
And if they've been outside lately, they're wet because it's raining outside. Yeah, we are not in the Northeast right now. There's a Siege Rhino. Seth up to 16. Yuuya back down to 20. Now, you have to imagine Yuuya was expecting this to be maybe the turn 4 play. So maybe that's why he deployed the Hordling Outburst as he did.
Well, he also has the tools in play right now to set up the lock of Stoke the Flames plus the rebuy and Soulfire Grandmaster. So he has an option this turn, for example, of sending in just one token. If Seth blocks, cool. Take care of your Rhino. And if not, you can just either play Ascendancy or go at Seth. Also do this chicanery.
Yeah, he's going to start with Ascendancy. This deck is terrifying to play against.
Yeah, I've said this several times. When this deck is doing its thing, it's a modern deck playing in Standard.
Here's Stoke. Going to trigger, of course. You're going to discard a Plains, untap these creatures. Looks like Stoke's just going upstairs. So Seth's going to lose 4. He gets to gain life thanks to good old Soulfire Grandmaster. Out here's the attack. This is going to eat Soulfire Grandmaster. 8 points of damage is going to come through. All of a sudden, Seth's down to 4.
And the block there is just another card in the graveyard for Treasure Cruise.
Yep.
So, cool turn.
Top card going to go to the bottom. Yuuya's turn's all done. Seth's got some real catching up to do. I think it might start with Bioblight.
I mean, even Silly's at 4, not a lot of pressure in play.
I wouldn't be feeling great if I were Seth.
Opponent with Treasure Cruise in hand. Ascendancy is just so hard to beat once it's in play unchecked.
And the thing is when's the turn you're supposed to cast it? Because it's different, I think, for every game that you play.
Right.
It's different when you're supposed to cast it. You know, we've said, a lot of the times you want to take a turn off to play the spell, and Yuuya disagrees, and, I defer to his judgment.
Well, the turn that he took off wasn't even a turn that he really took off.
Yeah.
Because he got to Stoke in the same turn, and he, made up all the lost tempo and then some.
And it was a very good turn. And now Seth is really back against the wall. It might be time for another Siege Rhino. It is. He's going to go up to 7. That'll give him 2 blockers. Watanabe going to quickly untap. 4 goblins in play, 4 lands as well. Pick up a card. Doesn't even need to look at the other one. We don't get a great look at it just yet. He's just trying to figure out, make sure he can kill him. Oh, Hordling Outburst. Has Raise the Alarm and Treasure Cruise.
So yeah, he can raise, loot away the Hordling Outburst, Treasure Cruise for 1.
Oh, that
sure, stoke the flames, whatever.
That makes it really easy. There goes Hordling Outburst. 2 soldiers coming in. Of course, those tokens are 2/2s. Now they're 3/3s. Put Seth down to 3. 2 of them are going to go unblocked. He'll trigger. Take a draw. Citadel Siege. Yeah, he's not discarding that one either.
He doesn't want to show it.
No, definitely not. I don't know if he leaves it in this matchup. We're going to find out as sideboarding takes place, but he doesn't want to show it. Yuuya Watanabe is going to win game number 1 here over Seth Manfield. Jeskai tokens very quickly and easily up a game over Rob's on midrange.
And Bioblight into Rhino is not a terrible draw for Seth in the matchup.
As far as I'm concerned, that's a good draw.
Yeah, being on the draw is not great, but Siege Rhino, one of the better cards in the matchup, and just wasn't even close to mattering.
Well, it's sideboard time. We will start with Manfield. He'll be on the play for game number 2. He has 2 copies of Erase, 3 Drown in Sorrow, 4 Fleecemane Lion, a Sorin Solemn Visitor, a Nissa World Waker, a Garrick Apex Predator, 2 Glare of Heresy, and a single in Hostilities. Those Fleecemane Lions, well, those were very helpful for Brad Nelson and a bunch of other players at Grand Prix Memphis. Was really kind of what set the stage for the tournament for a lot of players who were playing Abzan. Not sure they're great in this particular matchup, though.
They feel poor to me against a deck with red removal and a deck that can overwhelm a single blocker. The 2 Erases and 2 Glare of Heresy seem great to me, just something to answer Ascendancy. We saw what that card does unchecked. The 1 copy of End Hostility as well. Not a huge fan of the Planeswalkers in the matchup. Drown in Sorrow also quite good. You just deck a bunch of small creatures.
What do we see on Watanabe's side?
A Glare of Heresy, 2 copies of Negate, 2 copies of Valorous Stance, 3 copies of Disdainful Stroke, 3 copies of Anger of the Gods, 2 Outpost Siege, and 2 copies of Sargon. like the Sarkins, the Outpost Sieges, the Disdainful Strokes, the Valor Sands, the Negates, and the Glare of Heresy. Cards that are good going long, cards that are good answering big cards, and cards that can kill Siege Rhino. Those are really the things that you use in the market for.
Well, these players will shuffle up here for game number 2, and while they do, we will talk about another Dragon's Tarkir spoiler in Scaleguard Sentinels. I've played with Renrun's Vanquisher. I've also played with Gold Medal Stalwart, so I'm very familiar with these cards that need a little help to be cast. This one, you don't have to reveal a dragon. You may, and if you do, it becomes a 3/4. So I actually kind of like it.
Yeah, Elvish Warriors is a, medium level constructed Magic card. Can show up from time to time. And it's a really good deal if you have a dragon.
Either in hand or in play.
Yeah.
Which is pretty sweet. I like this card mostly from like a flavor standpoint. I think it's just sweet design.
Yeah, no, this card's cool. And, I think that obviously the tipping point is just how many dragons are you playing in your deck?
Yeah.
Because a 2-mana 2/3, probably not going to cut it in most formats. But a 2-mana 3/4, now we're talking.
I've got those Changeling gears turning in my head too.
Oh, yeah.
Good old Woodland Changeling. Cairn Wanderer.
Nameless Inversion.
Never forget. Yep. Never forget, baby. Whenever I see a card like this where you have to reveal a certain card type, give me a Changeling.
Your spell has a creature type?
Yes.
No. My spell has every creature type.
Key. Crib Swap? I know them all. I know them all.
Yeah, that was sort of during my Magic sabbatical.
That's when I was playing like 10 hours a day.
Yep.
Just an unhealthy amount.
Mirror Entity, got one of those bad boys.
That's a Changeling as well. Don't forget it.
Chameleon Colossus.
Still a Changeling. Changeling Berserker.
I don't know what that one
Not
is.
a great one. Has haste, 5/3 for 4, red creature. Not great. Not great. Wings of Velis Veil.
What about that little fire-breathing knucklehead?
Oh, Firebelly Changeling.
Great.
Oh, he'll give it to you.
Yep. Meat Boy Changeling. There's a lot to. There's so many powerful
Changelings
dragons.
were sweet.
Sort of yes and sort of no. I'm not really.
What's wrong with them?
Just too big of a cheat. You're going to have a tribal block. You want the tribes to actually feel like tribes, and Changeling's just too big of a cheat.
But none of the Changelings were too good. That's the thing. Like, I think if there was too good of one, I would agree with you.
It's just a pretty ham-fisted way of doing it is all.
You're tough to please.
Not really. I mean, and also like someone builds an elf deck. They want to have a bunch of elf text boxes and a bunch of elf artwork, and like that's the thing, and not these Chameleon Colossus and Meat Boy Changeling dingleberries running around.
I liked Changeling. I also just loved that block, so I'm a little biased. Kipkin and all that jazz.
No. Yeah, I mean, the times where you're just playing Magic a lot, it doesn't really matter what the mechanics are. When I was playing a lot of FNM was during Saga Mercadian Mass Standard, wildly intolerable format. People just dying on turn 2 all the time. Most powerful card, Rashad Port. It's like, this is not a playable format, but I remember it very fondly.
That's my kind of standard right there. I wish I was playing then.
Land Destruction deck was very powerful.
Yes.
The all counterspell deck was very powerful.
Yes.
Those are the 2 decks I played.
You're terrible.
Just trying to win, man.
I probably would have done the same thing. I loved Land Destruction when I was a kid.
You're trying to put a Renko on your Albano Troll, man. That's fun or whatever, but that's not winning.
Looks like Seth's going to take a mulligan here. You taking a look at his opening hand.
People were trying to cast creatures at my store in a format where treachery was legal.
That's just bad.
Not a great strategy.
That's bad deck building.
You're going to want to cut those. And by those, I mean all of those. The creatures you are allowed to play, Avalanche Riders, just things with Echo or Stone Rains. Those are. Anyhow, I played a lot of this format. If I had to cover it right now, I would not be able to stomach it. But at the time, I was just playing a lot of Magic, and that's just what it is.
Turn 1, Pouncing Jaguar, Vine Dryad. Oh, yes.
Yep. Yeah, if that's, Vine Dryad's a really sweet thing to target with treachery because it has Forest Walk. So, the work's already done for you, really.
You probably did that a time or two.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I put 1 Slippery Karst in my deck, the green cycling land, because normally you just played it as a land or cycled it, but you could use it to pay the Echo on Albino Troll or Pouncing Jaguar or Recruiting if you took it, which is just the Rubbins.
Now, you know what that is?
Great deck building.
That's great deck building.
Because the thing is, just taking their creature for 0 mana wasn't enough for me to feel satisfied with the exchange. I had to keep it, too.
Windswept Heath will be sacrificed here by Seth.
It's a different time.
He's going to get himself a forest. You saw Watanabe just lead off with a tri-land on his side. He has a Mystic Monastery.
I wonder if Seth maybe brought in the Fleece Bane lines if he's already cracking.
Going beat down. Yes, sir. He with a copy of Valorous Stance in hand. He'll play a Plains, he'll pass the turn back. We're going Manfield's way. Manfield going to play a Plains, he'll get in with his line. Watanabe down to 17. The follow-up is a Courser. Top card, Temple of Malady. Not a bad start.
No. I mean, the Jeskai token deck is pretty slow out of the gates, and when you see the Abzan deck at its most effective in the matchup is where it just gets out on the front foot and has Siege Rhino. So if you can leverage some early advantages, Siege Rhino can be really, really powerful. Already among your best cards in the matchup.
Tommy draw there for Watanabe is a copy of Hordeling Outburst. 3 goblins incoming. We are heading back Seth's way. Seth will draw. In he comes. Will Watanabe block here? Is it time for a chump block? Perhaps an attempt at a triple block.
No, just let this one come through. I'd rather lose than chump block a Fleece Bane line on the 4th turn.
I'll keep that in mind if we ever play against each other. Too proud.
Yeah. I don't care if this guy's got hatred in his hand. I'm not blocking this thing. It's coming through.
Well, it looks like he is letting it through. Here's a Courser. Top card, Siege Rhino. Is it time for that Temple?
I would imagine if he plays a Temple here, Seth's effectively down a Scry because there's no way Siege Rhino goes to the bottom here.
Yeah. He's thinking about it, that's for sure.
Well, it's a little awkward because you don't want to leave the comes into play tapped land rotting in your hand also if it's stunning your development, so.
And he's going to go with Windswept Teeth, trigger the Courser. That means he's going to hold the Temple for, hold the Temple for turns down the road. Pass the turn back over to Watanabe. He'll take a draw step. Has Citadel Siege in hand, just picked up a copy of Raise the Alarm. Negate Stoke also in hand. There's land number 4 to Shivan Reef.
It's weird for the post-board games. The tokens deck often position itself as sort of a weird control deck.
Now, this is the card I want to see in action. This is Citadel Siege. Unbeatable Unlimited.
That's what I've heard.
It's a joke. It's unbeatable Unlimited. This isn't limited. This is constructed. So to see 3 copies of this card in Yuuya's deck, I want to see what it can do. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put 2+1/+1 counters on target creature you control. So we just made a goblin into a 3/3. Glare of Heresy, the top card here for Seth.
And it's actually kind of sweet. He turns this thing into a 5/5, and then, I mean, that's moat. The Seth can't attack through it.
Pretty close.
If he kills it, all right, tokens start going on some other things.
And you have to imagine that Dragon's effect. It'll play a role too. Seth's going to lose one and then gain one here from Courser, so he'll stay at the same life total.
This is just great. Yuuya dusting off some new hits, some old hits.
I love it.
I haven't done drafts of the format yet. I could read that card and assume that you're just done.
You're going to want to open that. Fleece Bane line on top of the deck.
Because like a Dragon Scale Boon's pretty hard to beat. And this is Dragon Scale Boon every turn.
Oh, is it? I've been on the receiving end. I didn't want to play anymore. The second ability is good too.
Right.
There's a Temple. Gain a life will Seth.
I would imagine the Dragon's power could actually be very strong against heroic decks.
Yep. Tasker is the top card now. Perhaps it's Siege Rhino time for Manfield? It is. He's up to 24. Watanabe's down to 10. Problem here for Seth. Looks like no great attacks to be had. And he'll have to send the turn back over to Watanabe, who gets the opportunity to have some fun this turn.
Yeah, and now he's got Negate at the ready as well. So a lot of cover for his board.
Sarkhan is an interesting draw. Going to start with a Battlefield Forge.
At this point, it's just more of this feeling of, is the coast clear for me to get Sarkin into play this turn, at which point the game becomes very easy to play going forward, or do I need to leave up negate?
Well, Sarkin's coming in. He has to pay 1. And it looks like the elevator is going to go down 2-1 to take care of something. Courser's going to bite the dust. We got a 5-5 now.
Sweet.
This is what you talked about. 5-5 is better than everything out there. And if Seth wants to kill that, it's probably his entire turn.
Yep. And then, again, the tokens just start going on to other things.
Yep. Interesting problem this card is creating here for Manfield. Again, don't forget, Tasker was the draw step, so he can certainly add to his board in a big way.
And just as time goes on, things like Drown in Sorrow and Bioplay, he just gets more insulation from as well. Is not quite Jeskai Ascendancy in terms of impact, obviously, but once this card's in play, it's an additional upfront investment, and then the game gets very easy to play from here.
And then again, what is Jeskai Ascendancy, One of a kind.
Hoot?
Yeah.
A Cracker Jack?
Well, Manfield's the one reaching for mana now, and he's going to just activate the Monstrosity and Fleece Main Line and pass the turn back. That shows some real weakness in Seth's hand, I think.
Yeah.
If that's his entire turn, feels like his hand is not great.
Well, it could mean that he's trying to play towards end hostilities or some other sweeper.
Okay.
Get the Fleece Main Lion immune to something like that, and then try to sweep the next turn. You do that, in an ideal world, your Fleece Main Lion can then take care of Sarkin. And then you got, it's a game plan at least. Double counteraction is sweet.
Yeah, I love it. Because now he's beaten down for 6 in the air. Combo deck.
Combo deck.
Looks like he's going to be taking 1 to play Jeskai Ascendancy. Yep.
Plus
Pass
one,
turn back.
+1/+1 counters on the Planeswalker. This also might be a first for me. I don't know if I've ever seen this before. Pretty rare, right?
It's very rare.
Most Planeswalkers don't attack and block.
Yeah,
so.
it's very rare.
And, now negate it already. So that's pretty good, too.
Any problematic removal spell can be countered now.
Yuuya is pretty awesome. I gotta say, I'm enjoying watching this man play.
He does okay. Glare of Heresy. Gonna go after Jeskai Ascendancy.
And Yuuya just might say, okay, that's fine. I still have negate to protect Sarkin plus Citadel Siege, which is lethal next turn. So you could possibly just say, yeah, you can have it. Oh.
There's negate. Jeskai Ascendancy trigger. Watanabe discards Sarkin.
Excuse me, I misread Seth's life total as being at 8, not 18. That said, the Ascendancy not a requirement at this point, but still too much value at this stage of the game.
There's Tassiger. Yuuya doesn't seem to mind. So Seth's going to remove the spells from his graveyard, leaving lands. That means Tasker is controlled now a little bit. If he turns over, Hero's Downfall on a land, it's pretty good.
Yep. But he doesn't have a lot of time.
No. No, he does not.
I mean, he's dead at 2 turns because 8 plus 10 with Sarkin plus Citadel Siege, so.
Yep.
He actually does not have time to activate Tassiger as things currently stand.
We're going up. Sarkin is active. 2 counters. He's going to spread them out a little bit. This is an attack for 6.
And Yuuya would stoke in hand, so he still has other ways to get to the kill next turn, even just through the Sarkin. It's been awesome too, because Seth's draws have been fine both games, you know? Had Fleece Mane into Courser into Siege Rhino on the play with a Glare of Heresy.
This feels like on hostilities, yeah?
Seems very likely.
Yeah. He just has to hope that Yu doesn't have another counter spell, because Yu did use the negate, so. We're going all towards Sarkin here.
Well, even if it's not in hostilities, Seth just doesn't have a choice.
Oh, absolutely.
He's gonna die, so he's got to try to do something here.
Valor stands to draw. See what Yu wants to discard here. He's got some good cards in his hand.
This is just great.
Oh.
Good sign.
Yeah. I'll discard Stoke the Flames. What? Yeah, I don't need that. It's not a great spot, Seth. Not a great spot, I don't think.
I wonder what that's all about.
Yep.
Probably nothing major.
You just don't need that? Nope.
All right, so any effects or? Oh, that is great.
We'll have some trades in combat here. Siege Rhino gonna bite the dust. Thanks to Just Guy said it's making these creatures bigger. Drown in Sorrows to follow up. Okay. I'll clean some stuff off this table. Though Yuuya does have some spells to play. The other card does have to Stoke the Flames, so.
Yeah, he just kept Valorous Stance, I think, as insurance for the Sarkin.
Yeah.
So, pretty hard for anything to go wrong here, but.
Didn't discard an additional copy of Jeskai Ascendancy, I believe. Yep. Here's Valor Stance to save that, because it'll make the creatures bigger. So Drown Star's not going to get anything done. And Yuuya says you can scry from your Drown Sorrow.
This has been a beating. And it's, nothing to do with how Seth played.
I think Seth played perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's just Yuuya's structure here is quite a lot to get through.
This is the inventor of Jeskai tokens. And this is probably the best Jeskai tokens player in the world. And he is putting on a clinic right now. Not only the last match against Mike Riley, but this one here against very good competition.
And a good draws both games. Seth had Bile Blights and Siege Rhinos there in the first game. He had a Fleece Mane Lion and a Courser and a Siege Rhino here. You're seeing Drown in Sorrow and Glare of Heresy. Some of the sideboard cards have been drawn, and it just has not mattered.
Yeah. So we do have a judge call here on exactly what the game state is, I think, and what's happening with the Valor Stance and the Jeskai Ascendancy triggers and all of that stuff. So we'll see what the decision ends up being. And that is going to do it. So I thought he was going to win this match over Seth Manfield. 2-0. Jeskai tokens will take care of Abzan mid-range. And it was a pretty decisive victory there for Yuuya.
Yeah, nothing really too much to add to that, other than it's really sweet watching Yuuya Watanabe play Magic, and Citadel Siege was really good that game.
It was really good, right?
Really good that game.
Yeah. Now, again, it's interesting because we have never seen Citadel Siege really in action in Standard. And Yuuya is playing 3 copies of that card. And you don't play 3 copies of that card unless you're sure it's good.
Right.
And at least that game, we saw it was pretty good.
Yeah, again, not quite just Jeskai Ascendancy, but reasonable facsimile.